girl Francine. Today is Friday. It's another edition of Girl, I'm finna take your black card. And it's Halloween. Spooky. I tried to dress up and I think I did a little too much. I got the devil ears and the little thing, and you know, I got the little pitchfork on the devil. No? Okay. Well, I tried. Anyway, and I'll dress up tomorrow too. Like, I usually don't dress up for Halloween, so this is fun. So today we are watching a movie that it doesn't really take my black card because I have seen this movie, okay? So before y'all start trying to take my black card, I have seen this one. However, I haven't seen this movie since I was a kid, and I used to think this movie was scary, and now as an adult, I'm like, wow, kids really are dumb. I thought this was scary. I don't know. Anyway, let's get into my first watch reaction in a very long time of Tales from the Hood. Woo. Yeah, I tried to make it scary. I'm so sorry. All right, so this movie starts off. We are at a funeral home. We see 3 black guys standing outside the funeral home. I guess they're supposed to be like gangsta or something because they like curse a lot and they have guns. That's pretty much all you need to do. They were not convincing whatsoever. They kind of just gave me dumb. But they were at this funeral home, and in the beginning I had no idea why they were there. I was like, why are we here? Okay, cool. So they get to the funeral home, and the scariest part of this movie, which still scares me to this day, is the freaking funeral home director. He is scary as hell, okay? I am still scared. I had nightmares. No, I didn't.
Well, I have nightmares on a regular basis, but that's mostly just from reality, actually, so.
But yes, the funeral home director answers the door, and he's supposed to be giving them some drugs that he found. Now, I don't know where they do this at, where you buy drugs off of a person who ain't your main supplier person. I don't know nothing about selling drugs, so don't try to come for me and say I do, but I didn't think that was normal. But they are there to get drugs from this van so that they can sell it, I'm guessing. And he's like, you know, I'm gonna give you the ish. They keep calling it that. The S word that I'm not going to say because I'm already probably doing too much with this outfit. Then I don't want to add cursing to it. YouTube, like, girl, you're crossing the line. But yeah, so they're going there for the drugs, and they see a person in a coffin, and the guy in the coffin is, you know, he's like, look, let me tell you a story about this guy in the coffin as I take you to the drugs. And I was like, what is this, story time? Like, what? Like, what are we having, a story time moment? Like, whatever. So the first story is about a guy who's a black guy. He's a cop, which I already knew. I'm not gonna like this one. I don't really remember this one actually when I was younger. So this one I must have blocked from my brain for very good reason. So the black guy, he's a cop, and that's the guy who's in the coffin. So we're like, okay, so he's gonna die. How is he gonna die, right? Again, I don't really like where this is going. And so he's there with his fellow white cop, and they're rolling up to a traffic stop with 2 other cops who are already there. And they're, you know, hassling this black man. And I was like, okay, I definitely don't like where this is going. And so the black guy turns out to be a prosecutor who is prosecuting cops who are selling drugs in the neighborhood. And these cops are kind of harassing him because he won't stop prosecuting cops in the neighborhood. They're trying to get him to stop. And so the black guy's like, oh, what are you guys doing? And they're like, oh, just go and like run his place and make sure, you know, he's not a criminal. Okay. So then the black cop is in the car, and they're beating up this man, like beating him up, like vehemently beating him up. I don't know what the hell's taking him so long in that car to run the tags, because he was in that car for a minute. Now, I don't know how technology was in the 90s when it came to like police stuff, but it took a long time, okay? So then he goes out the car, and he goes up to the cops, and he's like, yo, why are you beating him up? Like, his name is Mr. Morehouse. Like, he's like a big prosecutor, so he recognizes who he is. And so the cops are like, yo, mind your business. Like, we handling it. We gonna take him to the hospital, because they just beat him up to the point where he needs to go to the hospital. Instead of taking him to the hospital, they take him to the pier, and they inject him with drugs. And they were like, yeah, the cops are selling drugs, but you ain't gonna tell nobody because you finna be dead. So then they inject him with drugs, and they push him into the river. Horrible. So we cut to the black cop who was in the beginning. We cut to him in this like city little apartment, drinking alcohol and getting drunk, and he's going through it, okay? And apparently it's the 1-year anniversary of the death of this man. And, you know, instead of turning these guys in for killing him, he essentially just left the force. He was like, look, I can't do this. And so he starts hearing voices from the guy who died saying, bring them to me, right? Because he's like, yo, I want my revenge. And so he goes out to the cemetery and calls the cops out there to meet him there. And they go out there. He's like, come with me to his grave. And they're like, why are we going to his grave? Like, the heck? But for some reason, they went and followed him. One of the cops, who was probably the most racist out of all, decided to pee on his grave, which, that was necessary. Yeah, that was definitely necessary. He also keeps calling him boy, and I'm like, I'm not triggered. No! And so we get the ghost coming out of the grave. He like grabs the one guy who's peeing on his grave, and he grabs him and takes him into the grave and kills him. And he chases the other 2 cops, because there was 3 cops originally, 3 white cops. He chases the other 2 cops. One of the cops he kills, and you know, the other cop sets him on fire and is like, oh, I'm free, I'm good. And then the ghost, the zombie guy, because this is essentially a zombie, kills him and brings him into the little, I guess they had a like portrait made of him in the community he worked in, and it sucked him into the portrait. And then the black cop was like, you know, I helped you out, my brother. And he was like, where were you at, brother, when I needed you? And he killed him.
I definitely got this part wrong. He did not get killed by the guy. He ended up in a insane asylum because they said that he killed the 3 cops and that he was a maniac because he kept talking about how a ghost did it. So I was wrong. My bad.
But that is the first story, and the 3 guys are still sitting there like, wow, that was an interesting story, as if they're not there for a reason. Like, you're there for drugs. Why is he not giving you the drugs? Y'all been sitting here listening to this story for like 20 minutes. Like, what's going on? So then we get to the second story. The second story is of this one kind of scared me when I was a kid, but this wasn't the one. This is the one that got me, because it was another one. I feel like y'all know which one it is. So the second one is about a little boy, same boy from Soul Food. So obviously I don't really remember movies he's in, because I've seen 2 and I don't really remember. So sorry, little boy from Soul Food, my bad. I don't know. You can act. I don't remember. So this little boy, he goes to school. He's going to a new school, and he's talking about being threatened by a monster. And one of the first things we see in this scene is that, like, we hear these like scary noises, and then someone's rattling at his door. And then we cut to him being in school, and he's in school, and he's new, and he gets bullied by these kids, and one of the kids starts fighting him, and he gets sent to the nurse, and they find that the bruises he has on his body are old. So they were like, what's going on at home, son? Because it's not normal for you to have bruises on you like that. That's not normal. So he was like, oh, it's a monster. The monster is getting me at night. And, you know, he was like, the teacher was like, the monster, you know, is the monster like a person? And he was like, no, it's a monster. So he was like, well, if you want to tell me what's really going on, tell me what's really going on, you know, and then they let it go. And I was like, why didn't you just like call DHS or, you know, do a home visit, which he does eventually do, so I give him credit for that. But he should have called DHS or called his mama or somebody. Like, if you see bruises on a kid, first thing I'm saying is, we need to get some type of authorities involved, because I don't got the capacity to do that. It's just me though. So then we cut to the next day. He's at recess, and instead of going outside, he stays inside and he starts drawing the monster. And he also draws the kid that is bullying him. And he says, you know, one of the girls that sat behind me told me that if I draw something that scares me and I crumble it up or I burn it, then it gets rid of it. And so I'm just going to do that to the monster, and I'm just going to do that, you know, to the little boy. And he was like, oh, okay, you know, but if you really want help with the monster, you know, we can help you, blah, blah, blah. And so he was like, okay. And the little boy starts folding up the paper that has the little bully on it, and he apparently falls down the stairs and breaks all his bones. So, how was that connected? So the next day we cut to he comes to school again, little boy, and now his hand is bruised up, and he's like, all right, there's too much going on, like there's something going on at his home. So the teacher goes to his house to speak to his mom, and his mom is like, oh, he's just making up stories, it's nothing going on. And then we see his dad come in, or I guess a man who lives in the house. I don't know if it's his dad, I don't know, they ain't really established that relationship, but it's played by David Alan Grier. And David Alan Grier does not give me aggressive. I'm so sorry. I'm not saying he can't act, but like I don't get aggression from him. Like I'm still thinking of him as like the guy from In Living Color, like hated it. Like I'm like I don't get aggressive from you, but that's okay. That's okay. Look, he's taking his roles as he can. He's taking his roles as he can. So he tells the teacher, look, there's nothing going on. We'll talk to him. Blah blah blah. The teacher feels kind of uneasy because you can tell like he is doing something because his wife is scared of him. You know, she's telling her son to like go upstairs, go in your room, and she's like, all right, son ain't right here. So he leaves, but he stays around and hears him beating on the boy. He beating on his wife. He just beating everybody. Okay, and so the teacher comes in the house to fight, and boy can't fight. Like, why you coming in to help somebody and you don't even know how to fight, sir? But he came in, he got beat up. And the little boy's like, well, let me, crumple up this paper of the monster. And we see that, like, he calls him a monster because he has a tattoo on his arm that says monster on it. Kids. So he crinkles up the paper that has the painting of the drawing of him on there, and he starts like crinkling his body up, and he comes into this little ball, and I was like, this is so, whatever this is. It's just like clay. What is this? And so he's like, oh my God, we can't keep him like this, because if someone finds him like this, they're not going to be able to explain what happened. So the teacher was like, well, just burn it. And they burned it, and he burned into flames, and that is what is in the coffin back at the funeral home. And I was like, they still sitting here listening to these stories. I don't understand why they, like, I'm like, you know what, F it, we don't need these drugs. We obviously are drug dealers. We can find drugs somewhere else. Like, I feel like y'all must have a plug somewhere. Why are y'all still saying? Anyway, so the next thing they get to is this little doll. Now, I'll be quite honest, this is what scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. I was scared of them dolls. I was. They scared me. And to be honest, they look scary, okay? They look creepy as hell, but they're not like scary, like for real. But the next story about these dolls is about a old racist governor who used to be a KKK member, which you would think is far-fetched, but then you realize that that's like a real thing, because David Duke was definitely in the government. Not really that far-fetched, is it? Anyway, and based on how politics is now, you know what, we're not gonna do that anyway. This racist governor is running for governor of a state. I don't think they really clarify what state it is. If they do, I wasn't really paying attention. And he's talking about how affirmative action is bad for jobs and blah blah blah, and they don't need reparations, and there's a protest in front of his house because apparently he bought a house that used to be a plantation, and the plantation owner killed all the slaves so they couldn't be freed after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. And then a voodoo lady bought the house and turned them all into dolls. Can't make that up. I feel like whoever thought that up had a really crazy imagination. Or is this real life? I should look it up. Is that real? You know what? It doesn't matter. Anyway, so he's in his house and he's like, oh, I ain't worried about them people out there, blah, blah, blah. And so he gets this black guy. I think he's black. He's a little melanated, so I'm assuming he's black. I don't know. But this black guy's supposed to be teaching him how to do PR and be a better person because he's kind of an a-hole. And the black guy is teaching him what to say and how to answer questions on camera. And he falls down the steps and dies. Yeah. So I was going to feel sorry for him, but then I was like, that's what you get. So that happens. They go to his funeral, and there's this black guy. I didn't mention this black guy who was out in the front in the protest, and now is at this funeral, who's like, oh, the dolls are gonna come for you. They're gonna come for you. And he was like, man, get the hell out of my face. So when they get into the limo leaving from the gravesite, they realize there's a doll in the limo. Oh my God. What? And so he throws the doll out the window, and you know, he's like kind of shooken up, but he's like, it's whatever. So then he gets back home. He starts looking at the tapes that him and the guy was doing to prep him for his interview questions, and he sees that there was a doll right next to the stairs before the guy died. He was like, okay, that's kind of creepy, but it's fine. It's fine. So then he calls his people, you know, to be like, we need to meet up and talk about some stuff. And then he gets a knock on the door, and he thinks it's them, but it's not. It's the doll coming back in his house. So he sees the doll, and he's like, I ain't scared of you, blah blah blah. And you know, the doll starts terrorizing him and bites him, which again, creepy as hell. The doll looks creepy. And so then he finally catches the doll, puts it on a dartboard, and shoots it. And it's like, all right, I'm done. Now, what I did not mention is there is a moral of this voodoo lady and all the dolls she apparently made in this house. It's a huge moral. And once the doll came out the first time, you can see a picture was missing from the doll. Now that he killed the first doll, there's other dolls missing from the moral now. And it's like, ooh, where they at? And so he sees the other doll that was that he shot up, and it comes back for him, and you know, he's running around and scared of it. And then he looks back at the mural, and now all the dolls are gone because they're all about to attack him and kill him, and they're biting him. And then the voodoo lady comes out of the mural, and she just sitting there watching like, yeah, kill him. Yeah, go ahead, kill him. I'm down for it. And all the dolls kill him, and that is the end of the story. Now, when I was a kid, that scared the crap out of me, okay? I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's because the dolls are just creepy or if the dolls was biting on them and that was scary. I don't know, but that scared the crap out of me. I don't know why. Now, the next one, there's a fourth story, is about a gang member who got, you know, into some stuff. He saw a guy that was talking about him, and he shoots him, right? And then 3 guys come up and start shooting at him, and he's on the ground and he's dying. He's like, But then, like, you see a bunch of cops swarm around them and apparently shoot the other guys, right? And he somehow lives, even though he just got shot by 3 people. Don't know how that happens. He gets put in jail. And there's this lady, this black lady, who's supposed to be rehabilitating him. And it's like, if you do this rehabilitation thing, you can get out of jail. And he was like, bet, I'm down. So they take him to this like little chamber area, and they put him in a cell next to this white guy who is white. He's like he's a skinhead. He's a white supremacist, like, you know, them guys. He's talking about how, you know, he believes in white power and a white brotherhood, and he's gonna kill all the black people except for the ones that help them kill other black people, because then they'll end up being slaves. And he was like, you seem like you be the right guy. And he was like, no, I ain't down for none of that. He was like, well, what are you here for? Who did you kill? What color was the guy that you killed? And I got that they were trying to make a symbolism as like white people who are killing black people for racism, and black people who kill other black people are essentially doing their work for them. I get it. I see the connection. But then they hammer it in like super heavy at the end of this part. So then they take him to this place where they're supposed to be doing this experiment to change his behavior, right? And I don't know what kind of contraption they put this man in. They put some tubes in his nose, and they like put this thing on his private areas, and like this thing on his head, and like a bunch of stuff on him, and like start doing all the stuff. And they start showing him images of him and the people he was killing, and the, you know, gang members killing people. And then they were showing them pictures of like KKK people lynching people and marching in the streets and threatening to kill people, and then the same thing with gang members. And I was like, I get it. I get what you're trying to do here. We get it. Like, you're saying black people that kill other black people are just like them. I get it. You don't have to keep pushing it in. We get the message. So then he was like, oh, whatever. Like, well, I don't care about this part. So then they put him in a sensory deprivation chamber, right? Which apparently was supposed to be really good for you. Like, they're supposed to be really helpful. But they put him in there so that he can like see all the people that he killed. So apparently the first guy he killed in the beginning, he's like, oh, you killed me, you know, I had a life and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh man, that's your fault. You shouldn't have been talking all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. Then a little girl comes up. Apparently one of his stray bullets hit her and she died. And he was like, well, that's not my fault. You know what I mean? It's not my responsibility. My only responsibility is me. I don't care about y'all. And it seems like his behavior is not being changed. everything changed. So the lady who was like, we're trying to help you, like we're trying to get you to be a better person. Do you understand how your actions affect other people? And he's like, F that, I don't care. And then we cut to the fact that he is still in the middle of the street, and actually he dies. And that's the person who's in the coffin. So I was like, that was all a dream? Okay, so then the three guys who were there, they were like, hey, yo, what you trying to say? Like, why did you bring that up? And he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And the guys were like, you know who killed that guy? Because apparently they were the three guys who killed him in that story. So, okay, that's interesting. And then he's like, yo, we here for drugs, give us the drugs. And I'm like, by now, y'all don't realize y'all not getting these drugs. Y'all don't realize y'all not getting these drugs? Okay, we still think, like, you've been here for like an hour and a half. Like, so they're like, he's like, okay, fine, I'm gonna give you the drugs, come downstairs. Okay, so then he takes them downstairs and he says, you know, there's 3 coffins back there, the drugs is in the coffins. And this is the other thing I remember about this movie, is that in the 3 coffins is the 3 guys who were there. Apparently they got killed after they killed the other guy. And he was like, you know, you gotta pay for what you do, blah, blah, blah. And he ends up being the devil. See, it was connected. No, y'all don't get, okay, well, I tried. I tried to make it connected. But yeah, and that is Tales of the Hood. I was extremely scared of this movie as a young child, and now I think it has some morals in it, you know. Be there for your fellow brethren when they're getting murdered by cops, maybe. Which is definitely very relevant right now, unfortunately. You know, second one being, you know, don't abuse your kids. Come on, that's pretty obvious. Third one being, don't be a racist white person. Feel like some people need to learn that lesson. And the third one being, like, stop killing each other. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's pretty much what I got from this as an adult. I wasn't in no way, shape, or form scared. I actually laughed more than I was scared, because the premise now as an adult is like, this is dumb. This is dumb. But it was enjoyable. So it was better than Blackula. It was better than Blackula. So yeah. But with that being said, that is my second watch reaction to Tales from the Hood. And yeah, that's all I got for y'all today. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, put them in the comment section below. And I'll see y'all tomorrow with my other costumes. Tomorrow's actually Halloween, so I'm going to try to put one together. These are all like makeshift outfits, some stuff I just have in my closet, so we gonna figure out what we're doing for that one. I don't know. But I'll see y'all tomorrow.